gentlemen, what's up?
I think this is the first. No, wait.
No, last week was. I know where you're going with that.
Yeah.
We saw Brian's lovely face last week.
Yeah.
So the other episode you guys were talking about before I got on there about the with Melanie and Eric and the autism and special education advocate. What were you guys fill me in? What were you guys chatting on?
No, it's just I thought it was informative, and Brian was, Brian was saying the questions that I asked were good, and I think that Brian and his wife and Eric are just very knowledgeable about the subject, and having people easily talk about something that they're really knowledgeable it comes off nice. And I was thinking today, I don't know, Brian, do they have a month for autism? Like it's Autism Month?
Yeah, it's April.
April. So I think something like this that down the road we release this in April as a added, something, we edit it and basically say, hey, this is for Autism Month in April again. Because I think it's very informative.
I know we're not allowed to go into specifics yet, but where there's discussions of growing the 78 Bretsky Productions brand. And I'm mentioning it is because I do think that the topic of autism has so much that go into it, whether it's the parents' journey, the kids that we talked about as they grow up and their needs evolve. But Melanie has a close friend that actually started her company with her, left to go become a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also very knowledgeable and bright. And Derek did such a great job, I thought, looking at it from the outside and kind of, because it's tough because when you're not Melanie's a trained speaker. So it's not like she talks about herself a lot. So it's hard. It's hard to talk about what you do sometimes if you don't do it regularly. Yeah. So I was really impressed with how she handled it, and I thought Eric did just as well of a great job talking about it from his angle. So that's why I'm just mentioning it could be something maybe we bring back regularly with them two having a discussion about different parts of it, because it looks like our early results, Brett, from the downloads is really really.
How you doing, Marie?
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Okay. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you all? Good to see you.
Doing well.
Nice to see you as well. So welcome to the Three Guys podcast. The guy who just gave his little lovely hands, the little wave. That's Brian, and then my brother Derek, and then I'm Brett. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. I'm not a normal guest.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
I don't know. I feel like everyone that comes on is like, I'm a CEO. I have all these accomplishments, and I'm just like, hey, I have some
No, you know what? My brother just did one
during the intro.
Hey, did you see what you wrote here and all the things? I think we could probably go hours on.
Oh my God, I know.
What's it called?
Oh my God.
What's the water called?
What was it, Brian?
I think it was called Marina Bay.
No, it was something else. Oh,
Waterworks.
Waterworks. Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh yeah, so I'm sitting on top of Waterworks. Basically, it's gone, and they built this beautiful high rise.
Oh wow, that used to be the spot to go to back in the day.
That's what I hear.
Sunday nights. Yeah, Sunday nights.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
Night place.
Yeah, I have to give a shout out to Kevin Crick. Kevin Crick's the one who said that we should bring you on, and he's the one, he's promoting you like no one's business. So you have a fan in Kevin.
I know. I just talked to him you got to warm me up. I was like, I grabbed a drink to loosen up a little. He's kind of like my drinking buddy, travel buddy.
Oh, Jesus, that's a shocker.
And so, yeah, he's heard a lot of my stories, and I think I entertain a lot of people at brunch.
Yeah, that's what he said.
You don't have to go far in Boston. If you want to see animals in their natural habitat, just go down Broadway and peek in the windows of Lincoln on a Friday night. You can see some real animals there.
I was going to suggest a few things, but I'm like, I don't want to offend a few people.
But funny story, I was in Cuba probably 2-3 years ago for Thanksgiving, and did an Airbnb, just kind of a little bit easier. Americans aren't super welcome at the hotels there. At most hotels, I was turned away at a few when we went to use the pools there, but ran out of money very quickly, right? So you go in, you get into the country, and you exchange your money, and that's it. You can't use a credit card. You can't use an ATM. Nothing's accepted. It is absolutely wild. So we went with Canadian money because it's at their exchange rate, by the way. So you're held to that. So the euro and the US were just insane exchange rates. We go in with Canadian. We think we're like balling out with all this money. We got there the first day and everywhere is like, oh, no. The menu for you is this. And just like money was gone like so fast. And we're like, okay, what do we do? We're like poor in Cuba. We've got 3 more days to go. So we actually negotiated with our Airbnb host to give us cash, and we just pretended and like ended up paying for additional nights like through the app.
Holy Christ.
But that wouldn't even go through because we couldn't get on the app. We couldn't use Venmo, like nothing, like everything in the internet's blocked. If and when like the 20 minutes a day we were able to like access like their like weird internet.
So if you go down there, like if you're a couple or like you're, whatever, it's the 3 guys going down there.
Yeah.
Like you just suggest going down there with like a couple rolls of cash. Like how much do you think?
Yes.
Like
I thought like 300 would be great. Like, I don't know. I think maybe like 500 for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But no, I would take more than that because I mean, again, everything's cash.
What are
But I mean,
some
it's
of,
funny
you
how
mentioned
far
some of the
it
like the issues with like your body from
Yeah. So then like going into college and stuff, like dance team, and then like afterwards, other dance teams after that, there were weigh-ins, right? So I mean, basically for dancing, I grew up in front of a mirror. So I was always like in front of a mirror, and it was always just like being like very thin. And I'm very fortunate. Like I have decent genetics where like I was always naturally thin, and like also you're doing so much. It's very athletic. So I didn't like have to. I don't know. I think I did, but like I didn't need to. Looking back, like diet and stuff. But like for college and stuff, there were weigh-ins and after college weigh-ins, and you're doing everything you can to weigh in at a certain weight. And muscle weighs more than fat. Like looking back, we were just so unhealthy. And so unfortunately for some teams, there are tricks that other people do. They will feed you like Adderall and things like that to get you very thin and not have an appetite. Just like all these like crash diets and things that I did to my body over years to be this like waif thin. And like, to me, like I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm huge. Like right now I'm probably the heaviest I've ever been. But like, I mean, if you see my Instagram, like, well, that's not like, it's not terrible. Like I'm not like, I'm just like not comfortable in my own skin, but like I'm the healthiest I've ever been. Like, I was thinking back, and this is probably the first year that I've like been like healthy and just eating normal, I guess as normal as I could possibly be. But like I came to a realization, and I can't say like, oh, I had an eating disorder, because people will be like, oh, no, you didn't. You weren't in the hospital. You didn't like, you didn't have all these like, and it's just like, no, there are other ways around that to have these like body issues and that people need to be more aware of, and like how much damage you can do to your body over the years. But like looking back, like if I really think about it, I can't remember a day I was ever not comfortable. I was ever comfortable with my own skin. So I was always doing the mental math at every single meal. I've always just been on this like diet. There were years where I was abusing like, nicotine or Adderall or a Synthroid, like things like that. Like, I'm very open about it, because when I talk to other past dancers, and I actually had met a former Patriots cheerleader this weekend, and she was like, our whole team was like that, like it's common. Nobody talks about it.
You talked about, I'm going to totally switch gears, but you talked about some of the things your mom did for you as dancing and everything.
Yeah.
But you also spoke on your father and some of the legacy that he kind of left on.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit. I mean, I think we can see just from talking to you some of the foundation that you do have as a person. So tell us about some of those things that he kind of instilled into you.
Yeah, my father was just this amazing human. Both my parents were teachers. And
middle school, high school, or college?
My dad was AP English, so like literature, for 9th grade. My mom, so she stayed home to raise us until I was like in 1st or 2nd grade. And then she went back and was subbing, and that like part-time, basically to pay for my dance career. Right. recitals, costumes, competitive studios, those cost a lot of money. My dad, he would teach, and then he would go and referee basketball after school. He'd do a couple games. And then in the summer, he did a summer camp for kids that he started. And he started a men's softball league. So he had about 3 or 4 different jobs. My dad was like always at work, but he was always at my brother's games. He never missed a recital of mine. He coached a number of my brother's teams. He was the commissioner for our local baseball league, which made me pretty cool because when the guys in middle school were all like trying out for the teams, I knew what everybody's team was on before they could find out. And so they called the house. I definitely used it to my advantage. But yeah, so, and I mean, my dad was very athletic, very into sports. And so like, I get a lot of that from him, like appreciation for sports. He would take me to games on his own, whether it was like a Duquesne basketball game in Pittsburgh. And like, I loved that time with him because the time in the car, he would share all these amazing stories of him growing up. So his mother passed away when he was 7 years old, and his dad also worked a lot. So he was raised by his grandmother and like cousins, and he lived in this big mansion in Pittsburgh with all these like, different family members of his, and just like the wild stories of it. And I mean, everyone's like basically passed away or moved on since then. So I can like talk about it now, but yeah, there was a lot of like criminal activity. We are 100% Italian. Everyone's off the boat. You can, do the math basically. Like, I mean, my dad sat me down and like watched Godfather, like each of us, like we had a night to watch Godfather with him for our first time. And he talked about like, the mafia and, what they did for the country and what it's really like. But basically like, that was the lifestyle he grew up around. And he said that like, that was not for him. He didn't want anything to do with it. So he purposely like stayed away from it. Very, very Catholic man, but like not pious in any way. So he chose to stay away from that and, worked many jobs to raise his 3 kids. And
We Are Marshall or Remember the Titans?
Oh, We Are Marshall.
Yeah, that was actually a great movie.
Yeah, it was tough.
All right, Wedding Crashers or Old School?
Oh, she got stumped on this one.
Yeah, because I recently watched Old School again, and I'm like, God, I forgot how good this is. Old School, I think I quoted a lot more.
Really? Brian likes his.
I'm with you. No, Derek, you and I have.
Look at it.
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy, so I just chat too much. So I'm with Derek on why Old School's better because.
Well, I didn't say Old School's better. I like Wedding.
The first 50%.
Yeah, when I was comparing Wedding Crashers with Friday, I said. I was because at the end after they the whole
once they go to the,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Once they leave the compound, I would be curious if they could do that movie again, like a part 2.
I just forgot about like how many good quotes there are from Old School.
Oh yeah.
Old School. I go Old School. That's the quick answer.